Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 3 of Green Dot Daily, live from the Tommy John studio in New York City. I'm Charlie DiSturco, your host for today, and we will be live every single weekday. Yes, that's Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern on the Action app and YouTube channel. Here's what we've got coming up on the show. Trent Williams ended his holdout today, but you know who didn't? That diva out in Cincinnati by the name of Jamar Chase. We'll talk that and much more with Chad Millman and Simon Hunter of The Favorites in just a sec. Plus, can Aaron Rodgers return from a season-ending injury to win MVP at age 40? Or will Josh Allen spoil that venture despite a complete overhaul at wide receiver? Brandon Anderson joins to break down the futures market later on. And last but not least, Evan Abrams, the numbers guy, tells me what trends to back ahead of NFL Week 1, which is, by the way, 2 freaking days away. Speaking of the season's rapid approach, a deal between left tackle Trent Williams and the San Francisco 49ers seems on the horizon, with the two sides finalizing details. Williams is returning to San Francisco after holding out all of training camp and preseason, joining his teammate Brandon Ayuk, looking to avenge a Super Bowl loss. Aside from Hassan Reddick, that leaves just Jamar Chase as the lone holdouts, with Week 1 just over 48 hours away. Is Chase perhaps on tilt?
Loser.
As we welcome in Chad Millman and Simon Hunter of The Favorites to talk more about Jamar Chase and this whole saga. Guys, I can't believe it's Tuesday. We're 2 days away from NFL Week 1, and we're still talking about this Jamar Chase guy. I'm on tilt about this. I can't believe he's being a candy-ass diva, refusing with 2 years left on his contract to play and suit up, all while T. Higgins is out there on a franchise tag without an actual guaranteed deal. Chad, I don't know about you, but this is getting out of control.
Listen, Charlie, you're so mad that your East Coast, New York-centric accent is starting to come out whenever you use the word talk. And I got to tell you, I feel the same way, and I'm just a nice Midwestern fella. But he is ruining the best opportunity the Bengals have had to start the season strong during Joe Burrow's tenure. And to me, as we have been talking about on The Favorites all offseason, the Bengals have the best opportunity to end the Chiefs dynasty in the AFC and throughout the NFL. Joe Burrow has been Patrick Mahomes' kryptonite. And when Joe Burrow is healthy, he is the quarterback who can do the most damage to what the Kansas City Chiefs defense brings to other opponents. Jamar Chase not being available is pretty tragic for the Bengals, who historically, because Joe Burrow has been injured so often and going into training camp, either not participating or coming out and being rusty, he's great against the spread in his career, except for weeks 1 and 2. In his career, 2 and 4 in weeks 1 and 2 against the spread. And all of a sudden, they got the Patriots coming in, and they're 8.5-point underdogs. Big underdogs, historically, the past 20 years, cover against the spread. I don't think anybody, especially me, who's invested in Bengals futures, is interested in seeing the Bengals get upset by Jacoby Brissett and the Patriots. So this actually does put me on tilt.
It's actually incredible. And listen, Chad, I think my goal is to get this New York flair of mine, New Jersey flair, to get into your nice little Chicago Midwest vibe a little bit.
Just bring all the attitude you want, Charlie. It's fine.
Listen, I gotta be the the yin to the yang here, because it's just absolutely
McAfee this whole show.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. But listen, I don't understand this game 5 days away and Jamar Chase still without a contract. Simon, you agree with us? I mean, at this point, it seems like Jamar Chase is not even in it for the team.
Yeah, I think his energy's in the wrong place. He should be mad at his agent, right? His agent was the one that got him a deal where he's only getting paid $1,000 this year. Is that the team's fault? No, he's a high pick. He structured his contract this way. So to me, I hate these type of situations where it's a hold in, quote unquote, where apparently he's going to do drills the day he wants to do drills and he sits out the days he wants to sit out. I don't like it at all. I'm with you guys. It's like, get into a rhythm here. Like, you literally are starting this week and there's still drama. I really don't like it. So to me, these type of things freak me out because usually leads to soft tissue injuries. We see it time and time again. These guys who don't, go through the rigorous and the hardship of the camp, get into the season, and their bodies aren't ready for such a violent game. So the fact that this guy has not been touched by anyone on his team, like he's basically just doing drills against air for last month. Maybe he can get away with it because he's one of the best receivers in football. But we've seen this not work out for these type of situations. So I'm with you guys. If I was a Bengals fan, I would be upset because we've hit a point here where it's like, okay, you tried to do it, the team didn't budge. Get along with it, man. You're in your year 3 of your contract. Like, people don't like their contracts. We still show up to work. You're no different. So to me, his energy's in the totally wrong place where you should be doing what Chad talked about, being focused on a Super Bowl run.
Right, and it's not even like his contract is a year away and then it's like, well, he might get franchise tagged. He still has 2 full seasons before the franchise tag is even a decision. And my friend said this the other day. He's like, it sounds like you have a lot of stock in Jamar Chase. And unlike Chad, who has the Bengals futures, I have no stock in this. It just pisses me off when a guy who has 2 years left is still sitting out, is refusing to play. And listen, we'll see how it all comes down to the wire. I think he'll end up signing. But it's definitely on tilt and angry, as you could tell from me. I'm not happy about this situation at all.
Charlie, is Simon sending me a message by saying that people who don't like their contract show up to work all the time anyways?
Listen, Chad, I didn't say anything about this. I'm here right now. I'm showing up. I was the one that was ready to go right now.
For the record, I love my contract. Happy to be here.
I'm happy to be here. I'm going to show up and get paid. That's exactly what I'm going to do. But listen, we need to give some fresh, bold predictions out for this season. Chad, you're going to start us off. A team that, a team that you're not high on in particular comes out of the NFC North.
Bold prediction, Charlie. Minnesota Vikings, 15-1 to have the worst record in the NFL. The teams that have shorter odds right now are rather predictable. The Panthers, the Patriots, the Giants, the Titans. But I got to tell you, if you are going to bet on the ghost of Sam Darnold, if you are going to bet on a team that lost Danielle Hunter, who has been getting 15, 16, 17 sacks the past few years, and has replaced him at the edge with Andrew Van Ginkel, 29-year-old Andrew Van Ginkel, who's had one good season and has spent the rest of the time being a meh replacement player with injuries for the Dolphins. If you're going to have a team that has the 5th hardest schedule in the NFL, and after they go on the road as short favorites, red flag right there, against the Giants in week 1, they've got teams like the Niners and the Texans and the Jets. They could be 0-8 when we get to the midway point of the season. Give me the Vikings, 15-1, worst record in the NFL.
Nothing like a Chicago Midwest boy fading a team inside his division right off the rip.
I'm a man.
Chicago man. Sorry, Chad, don't dock that from my pay. But Simon, listen, you still have this contract. You still owe us a bold prediction as well. You're taking a futures market from a yards leader point of view.
Yeah, let me get some Cooper Kupp, the league in receiving yards at 30-1. I think that the people have just left this guy for dead. We just saw he had the best receiving history in the history of NFL just 2 years ago. And it's just, people are always about, what have you done for me lately? He was banged up last year, came into the season, all of a sudden Puka Nacua stole the spotlight, right? Everyone likes the new toy. I don't think it's going to be the same way, right? Puka's been banged up this whole offseason, even going into camp. Cooper's been getting all the reps with Stafford, and he has not had any type of issues at all heading into the season. To me, this is like the prime example of buying low on a guy that people are just forgetting about. With Puka, people are wondering, why was this guy a 5th-round pick? Soft tissue injuries. This kid was banged up all throughout his college career. Cooper Kupp, to me, this is just lines up for the perfect season, right? Fully healthy. The offense is catered around him, and we know what they want to do with McVay, right? The X receiver is the guy. So to me, 30-1 for the guy we just saw had the best receiving season 2 years ago. It's way too stretched out for me. I think the hate's gone too far. This should be closer to 20-1 at worst. So I love the value on this bet at 30-1.
You guys came on last week on YouTube to talk about Matt Stafford, how much you love him. This is just the perfect little complimentary piece. Matt Stafford going to air the ball out. Cooper Kupp looking great. But listen, guys, I also have a bold prediction for the season. And this one, I'm going to take it even a step further than you guys. 14-1, 30-1. How about Kyler Murray MVP at 55-1? Brandon Anderson talks all the time about one team going worst the first. The offense under Kyler Murray, I think, has that chance. Listen, you look at him, a dual threat quarterback that played at an MVP level when he's healthy. Is the defense so bad that they might lose and finish 500? Yes, but also I'm going to buy into the upside here. I'm going to take Kyler Murray to win MVP. Marvin Harrison Jr. season is here. Maserati Marv, Trey McBride. I'm falling in love with this Arizona offense. Just got to hope the defense isn't just a pile of crap. Chad, Simon, do I get a stamp of approval for that one?
I mean, I know Simon loves it.
I love it. The only pushback, which you'll hear from other people, is when you bet these MVP now, it's gotten boring, brother. You just got to bet who's going to be the 1 seed. So to me, Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff, these guys make sense just because I predict them to be the 1 seed. So love the angle, love the odds, 50-1. But if he gets in as the 5th seed, man, he would have to have seriously a crazy season to try to get MVP just because they like to give it to the 1 seed. It's just the way these MVP voters have been these last couple of years.
We know Kyler Murray has an affinity for video games. Maybe he puts up video games number. They shock the world, become the number 1 seed in the NFC. But, only time will tell. Chad Millman, Simon Hunter, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you guys on Thursday. Our MVP talk isn't over just yet, but let's pause and move over to the Defensive Player of the Year market, shall we? TJ Watt enters as the favorite at plus 550 over at BetMGM, while reigning Defensive Player of the Year Myles Garrett sits 4th at 8-1. And if you can notice any trend here, even down the list, all of the top 10 DPOY contenders in terms of odds are pass rushers and not DBs, as we welcome in Brandon Anderson to the show to talk more about NFL futures ahead of Week 1's kickoff on Thursday. Brandon, you have a comprehensive list of articles on every single award that you can bet in the NFL. So obviously go, if you're watching this at home, go check it at actionnetwork.com because we're only focusing on a couple of key races here. Brandon, we're going to start in that DPOY market. You have a very unique approach when handicapping this one in particular.
Yeah, this is my favorite award to bet every preseason. I know it's defense. It's not really sexy. It's pretty predictable, but that's why I like betting it. We like predictable. We don't get a lot of predictable in sports. 7 of the last DPOIs finished top 6 in voting the previous year. Name recognition, brand, you got to have it for defensive awards. Like you mentioned, pass rushing, 9 of the last 10 DPOIs were pass rushers, 11 sacks or more each, 16.5 on average. So look, we know the guys. You know the guys. It's the guys you just mentioned. And I don't know which one. I'm going to pick 4. I'm betting all 4 together. So here's the case. I'm giving Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett and TJ Watt and Nick Bosa. I am betting all 4. That's like a full unit bet on each one of the guys. I get all 4 together. You see the odds there on the screen. Get the best odds you can. Shop around, of course. Put your ticket together. I get all 4 for an implied plus 122. So here's what I'm doing. I get Parsons, Garrett, Watt, Bosa. I get the 4 bros against the field. I don't need the field. It's always the favorite. MVP, we do the narrative and all the fun stuff. Defensive Player of the Year, we just pick the good guy. Like, who's the best player? Oh, it's these guys? Great. Let's give that award to them. I would take these 4 against the field like 80% of the time. We're getting plus odds on this. This is my favorite awards position of the entire season.
It really does make sense. Micah Parsons, it's inevitable that he is going to be winning a Defensive Player of the Year at some point. You know the names. It's so easy to get behind any of these guys that you just listed, any of the 4. And Max Crosby, listen, sorry, man. You're in the top 5 of odds, but you got to win games as Brandon laid out. But let's move on to another market. And this one, Action Network is in love with this team in particular. We're going to look at the worst to first market. Brandon, you in particular, last year gave out Houston Texans. You coined the Texans Island. They ended up, C.J. Stroud, rookie year, worst to first in the AFC South. Then you did the same thing the year before with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And it would have been so fitting if you went with the Tennessee Titans. But unfortunately, Will Levis, you're out. Brandon, you're actually going to the NFC South.
I am. I'm going to stay in the South. We love to bet against the South divisions here at Action Network. And look, if you want at DraftKings, you can just bet any worst to first division winner minus 350. Now, that seems like a lot of juice. But like you said, 90% of the last 2 decades, that should be like minus 950. So that alone can be a bet. But I want winners. I want big tickets. I wore my best thing I can to get as close to the color as I can. Carolina Panthers, baby, plus 1,200, Panthers Island. Now, look, if you're going to buy a new island, you got to consider the archipelago, right? You got to look at the surroundings. and I love my surroundings in the NFC North, or NFC South. The Saints are bad offensive line, bad coach, like bottom 3 to 5 on each. They're out. The Bucs are fading. They're actually 2-time division winners right now, but they're clearly getting a little worse. The Falcons are the default, right? But it kind of reminds me of the Saints last year. We were like, oh, strength of schedule, and like they're average. They have an average quarterback, Derek Carr. The Falcons have a strength of schedule, and they're average, Kirk Cousins. I'm not really excited about average. Average means I can beat this team. So I did, my quarterback rankings, my offensive line rankings, my coaching rankings. Every time I get to the Panthers, they end up in like the mid-20s-ish range. Now, that's not great, but every time they kind of have a tier of guys where it's like, yeah, they're moving in the right direction. They were in the 30s before. Now they're in the mid-20s. They could end up even higher at the end of the year. Dave Canales, the new coach, has been a miracle worker with quarterbacks. He has helped save Baker Mayfield's career. He's helped save Geno Smith's career. Now it's Bryce Young. That's clearly what they went out and got him for. Bryce Young was abjectly horrible last year. He was so bad. Even being somewhat mediocre would be a huge step forward at quarterback. They've added weapons for him. They've added offensive line. They brought in 2 new guards there. Ejiro Evero on the defense doesn't have a lot to work with, but he's one of the good young play callers on that side of the ball. And with Bryce Young, we often do this with rookie quarterbacks. Number one guys often don't do well their first year, but from year 1 to year 2, Jameis Winston, when he was number 1 pick, 6 wins to 9. Jared Goff, 0 to 11. Kyler Murray, 3 to 8. Joe Burrow, 2 to 10. Trevor Lawrence, 3 to 9. That was our Jaguars Island position. That's an average leap of 5.5 wins from rookie to sophomore season. Now the Panthers only won 2 games, so you go up 5.5 games. We're at 7.5. They deserve to win by the underlying numbers, 3.5. Now we're around 8. I think we're in the division hunt at that point. I don't really see the Falcons pulling away here. I think 8 or 9 wins could take this division. So I love the over 5.5. That's a great play for me. And I actually have the Panthers at 8.3 wins, which is just barely off the Falcons. So I put them around 25, 30% here. I got my Panthers blue. We're on Panthers Island, baby, plus 1,200.
Listen, you got the Panthers blue. I got the black to complement the jersey color here for the Carolina Panthers. I'm all in on the Panthers as well. Love their over on wins. I think Tampa Bay's in for a really rude awakening this season. And listen, everyone's sipping the Kool-Aid on Atlanta, but watch out for Carolina this year. I do want to ask you, though, because I just talked to Chad and Simon earlier about, the MVP race, and I really like Kyler Murray. I think the Cardinals are one of those teams, when you mention it, 90% having worst to first, I think the Cardinals are one of those teams that could do it. Obviously, San Francisco's in their division. It's all hard in general, but why did you, I guess, in particular, not go with the Cardinals? Because I know that you were in on Kyler Murray a little bit as a long shot MVP back earlier in the offseason.
I was, and I have Kyler Murray top 10 in my quarterback rankings, which I think surprised some folks as well. I think Kyler can be really good. I think the offense can be really good. Love Marvin Harrison Jr., love Trey McBride, I love Michael Wilson. I like the offense. I like Drew Petzing. Got to play defense, and they don't have a lot of defense. And at the end of the day, as we'll get to at the MVP, it's a team award. You got to win games, and you got to play defense to win games. And the biggest problem for me is I really like Arizona. I wanted Cardinals Island. That's the island I eyed for the last 6 months. That's where I wanted to live. It's nice in Arizona. It's warm there. I like it in Arizona. Unfortunately, you got to check the archipelago, and I like the NFC West much better. And I do not want my team having to beat the Rams and the Seahawks and the Niners to win the division. I'd rather take the South. The division is just too tough for me to have to play Arizona.
Very, very fair. Defense definitely might not be able to stop a nosebleed. And yes, the division is incredibly difficult. But let's stick to that NFC West division in particular. You are going to be breaking an article coming out tomorrow, breaking down every single team and a future that you can make for every single team out there in the NFL. In the NFC West in particular, you have a lot of love for one team in particular. And sadly, it's not Arizona Cardinals Island.
It's not. And actually, I kind of like the Cardinals a lot, but I love the Seahawks, and I'm fading the Rams. And they kind of go together. So let me start with the Rams. I think the Rams actually are a carbon copy of the Cardinals. A lot of what we just said, I think they're going to have a great offense, but they might have a terrible defense. I have them 31st defensively. They just lost Aaron Donald. That is the defensive player of our generation. They lost Raheem Morris, their play caller. They lost Ernest Jones, really important at the center of the defense. I think the defense could be really, really bad. We already know Matt Stafford, 36, injury prone. That could go sideways as well. So I have the Rams last in the division. I project them at 6 wins. And I know that seems crazy, but I love the under 8.5. They're about even odds to miss the playoffs. I like that. Last in the division is 7-1 at BetMGM. That's my favorite Rams bet. We just talked about the Cardinals. I like the Seahawks. I don't have to tell you about the Niners. I think that they finished last there. I even nibbled worst record in the NFL. If it goes badly, they might need to replace Matt Stafford. Maybe that's why it goes badly. 60-1. If you like the long shot there, part of why I'm fading the Rams, because I love the Seahawks. Is this Seahawks blue also? I think maybe it is Seahawks blue.
A little close.
Here's what I like about Seattle. I love the new coaching staff. Mike McDonald and Ryan Grubb, the offensive coordinator. I think that is just the perfect fit for this team. So starting the defense, Tyrell Dodson, Jerome Baker at the linebacker. They got Leonard Williams on the line last year. They brought in first-round pick Byron Murphy. There's a lot of new talent, and Mike McDonald has been one of the best play callers in the NFL, certainly on that side of the ball. I think Devin Witherspoon, the sophomore corner he's going to break out. So I like the defense. I have them jumping to number 5 in my defense rankings. I like the offense. I think the offense could push top 10. If you get a top 10 offense and a number 5 defense, that could be as good as any in the NFC. And I have actually Seattle, one of 6 teams within a half a win of each other at the top of the NFC. So I'm playing them a lot of ways. Of course, I love the over 7.5. I have them over by 3 wins on that projection. Love the playoffs, plus 200 and better. You can bet them at Bet Rivers just against the Rams. They play them twice, 5-1 to beat the Rams 2 times. Love that. I'm off the Rams. I'm on Seattle. That's easy. And if you really want to go crazy on this, my coach of the year pick, Mike McDonald, I already made the case for that, 14-1. How about the 1 seed, 35-1? And how about just a little nibble, just in case, on the deep balls all season? How about a little Geno Smith, the shocker MVP, 150-1? Just a nibble, like a tenth of a unit sort of bet. I'm in on Seattle.
Listen, I've done dumber things with a tenth of a unit, so you could get me behind it. Geno Smith. Pigs may fly by the time that he wins an MVP award, but you do break down every single MVP. You mentioned your article that's out now on theactionnetwork.com. You do mention you dabble in on Geno Smith, but there's one guy in particular that takes the case, and you're putting the Brandon Anderson stamp of approval on Aaron Rodgers, year 40. Or I guess age 40, not year 40. It feels like he's been in the league for that long. To win MVP like with the New York Jets. Please tell me more, because I'm all in as a Jets fan.
Look, I'm in on the Jets. I didn't have Jets green today. I can only wear so many colors. But Aaron Rodgers, 25-1. Look, MVP is a team award. We give the MVP to the quarterback that wins 13 or more games. You make a run at the 1 seed. 16 of the last 17 MVPs have gone to quarterbacks. And what you don't notice, you think about, is 14 of the last 17 have gone to the same 5 guys, one of which is Aaron Rodgers, who's won 4 times in that span. Voters love to give to the top dude in the league. That is good for Rodgers. Obviously, we need the stats, but we need wins. We need typically, on average, a 14-win pace. You need a top 2 seed, usually a 1 seed. So let's start with the team. I like the Jets. They are, on paper, my number 1 roster in the NFL. They are ahead of the Chiefs and the Niners just by a little bit if they're healthy. Now, look, they might not be healthy. There are a lot of reasons to believe they wouldn't be. That's okay. That's why I want to bet long tail outcomes for them. If things really go well, I'm not going to do the median stuff all that much. Just what if it goes well? Why would it go well? They're already a top 5 defense. They're already top 5 special teams last year. We just need offense. Okay, well, take a bottom 7 offensive line, add in Tyron Smith, stud left tackle, a couple Ravens linemen, bring back Elijah Vera-Tucker. I think it's a top 7 offensive line now. So that's a huge swing. And then I thought they were the worst quarterback room in the league.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is still top 5 for me. Aaron Rodgers gets the job done. He has won double-digit games 10 times in his career. In a healthy season, he has never in his career finished below 11th offensively in DVOA. So we just did this with Seattle. Top 10 offense, top 5 defense, top 5 special teams. I have the Jets at 11.5 wins, my second best record in the NFL. So now we're fit. Now we're there. And of course, MVP, we need narrative. All right. Do I even need to tell you the narrative? 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers heroically comes back from a torn Achilles to lead the New York Jets to the playoffs, first time since 2010. I mean, people will be falling all over themselves to celebrate this guy if this is where this goes. And look, you need this ticket right now because where did the Jets start the season? Week 1, Monday Night Football in San Francisco. Now, you're thinking, oh, well, I should wait till afterward. They're going to lose. Aaron Rodgers didn't get drafted by San Francisco, number 1, remember? He loves to play in San Francisco. You go to San Francisco, who might be missing Trent Williams. We'll see. Maybe the last Christian McCaffrey or Brandon Ayuk. Get the win there. Then you suddenly face the Titans, the Patriots, the Broncos, the Vikings. The Jets are 5-0. Aaron Rodgers, top of the league. You got to get this ticket right now. 25-1. He's the same price as Tua Tagovailoa and Jared Goff. He's below Brock Purdy. I am personally insulted on behalf of Aaron Rodgers. His last 10 healthy seasons, he's won 4 MVPs. That's half the time almost. I think Pat Mahomes is the right favorite. Aaron Rodgers is number 2 for me behind him. I would put this like plus 600. Get the best price you can. It is my favorite award on the market. I'm all in on the Aaron Rodgers experience. RELAX. Let's ride him to victory.
JETS, dude. Encore. Music to my ears, Brandon Anderson. I'm going to be placing this one for sure. And I want to thank you again for giving us all the future market and breaking it down. Again, a reminder for Brandon, he has every single award broken down to an extreme over at actionnetwork.com. And then keep an eye out tomorrow. He will be releasing a future for every single team in the NFL. And of course, if you want some music to the ears as well, you can listen to the podcast version as well. Brandon on the Tam Pod with Brendan Glasheen breaking it down. Brandon, thanks again, my friend.
Thanks, Charlie.
If you're looking for a plus EV contest this NFL season, our friends over at Action Network have one for you. Their podcast called The Favorites is bringing back the free NFL Pick'em contest this season. It's totally free to sign up at favorites.actionnetwork.com. Just 5 picks against the spread every week. Cash prizes for the top 10 finishers, $40,000 first place prize, and $100,000 prize pool, plus thousands up for grab each week again. It's totally free to play. The contest just went live. Just go to favorites.actionnetwork.com to sign up and compete for the $100,000 prize pool. And you know what time it is. It is time for Evan Abrams, the numbers guy. Ev. All right, Ev. So we're going to talk a little game of Tell Me Why. We're going to talk about 4 games this week in particular for my leans. Actually, I have one bet in particular. You're going to tell me if I'm wrong or right, but we're going to start with the market move because we're 2 days away from the NFL season. The line's already starting to move, and in the last couple of hours in particular, there's been 3 games. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, I'm going to look up right now because I'm actually looking at the board on my other computer right now. But line 1, you need to know. Green Bay, Philly. Philly just moved down to 2.5, so 2.5-point favorites in that Brazil game. The other big one, Pittsburgh, Atlanta. Atlanta literally moments ago, as we're on this call getting ready to come on live, Atlanta moves to 3.5. So now with the hook on Pittsburgh there with the whole Tomlin situation becomes interesting. And the last one has got to be Chicago. It was 4.5. I believe this morning, early hours, now 3.5. So Tennessee's starting to get a little bit of love. A lot of people talking about the struggles with the rookies and number 1 picks in their first start. I think, a lot of people haven't even placed their bets on week 1 yet. It is only Tuesday, but all of a sudden, a lot of love for Tennessee.
Yeah, we're starting to see the numbers come in, money coming in on all these teams. We talked, last week, LaFleur as an underdog is definitely a great spot to buy. All of a sudden, we're seeing the money come in. The Eagles go down to 2.5. But let's talk about Thursday in particular. 2 days from now, the NFL kicks off. You're going to tell me why I'm either right or wrong in this scenario. I like Baltimore with the points. I think that this is a revenge game opportunity. I think taking the 3 in what's going to be a lower scoring game than expected is the way to go. Mahomes, I understand he's inevitable, but he's also usually inevitable in the postseason and not as good in the regular season. Marquise Brown is doubtful. Rashee Rice, we don't know what's going on with that, if there's going to be a suspension coming down now or next year. I think given the temperatures in the locker room, the Ravens are going to get up for this. We saw the Lions give the Chiefs the run for their money too last time in week 1. Tell me why I'm either right or wrong by liking the Ravens here.
I mean, you got to start off with the blanket stat, and it's not even the one I gave the producers, but it's Lamar Jackson 7-0 against the spread as an underdog the last 3 seasons. If he's getting points, especially if it's a full field goal, feels like you're on the right side. The other one, which is probably the more blanket stat and people would know historically, is just Harbaugh does really well early in the season. He's the most profitable coach in week 1 in our Action Labs database. Goes back 20 years, and on extra rest, which this is like 10 months rest and 10 months preparation. 27-8 straight up, 13-2 against the spread. Harbaugh does good in this spot. Now, listen, you're also going up against Andy Reid, who's King of September, all this prep time as well. So you kind of have a rock and a rock, a little bit of a situation there. But I think playing numbers, you just take them. Yeah, give me the points. I think you're right. I think you're the side.
All
Especially
right,
one other thing, Derrick Henry in the offseason, I love that he said the game would have been different maybe if he was there. I think he wants to make a statement, so I'll do it.
Looks like Derrick Henry touchdown, Derrick Henry rushing yards over. Maybe the Ravens actually run the football instead of trying to pass the entire time. That game's been circled. I know it has since they've lost in that AFC Championship. But let's move on to number 2 here. We're 1-0 right now with the trends. We talked about the line movement of the Titans and the Bears. I bet the Titans at 4.5. The line's moving to 3.5. I think that's about where I'd stop. If it gets any lower, I might look to try and middle with the 3. I just think that, you mentioned it, the hard knocks, all the public support coming in on Chicago. Caleb Williams, we know the trends about rookies struggling, in particular in their opening games. Maybe Caleb Williams is a unicorn. Maybe, the hype's real. But tell me why I'm either right or wrong with liking the Titans here as an underdog.
Well, looking at the board right now, Titans are also getting the public support. They got 62% of tickets, so you're rolling with the public a little bit here. But more importantly, historically, these small underdogs, especially early in the season in weeks 1 and 2, tend to perform well. So 1 to 5.5 point dogs, 64% since 2018, and it's 58% over the last decade. So you're kind of rolling with the numbers a little bit. And if you go even a little bit higher, 1 to 6.5 points, it's still 61% since 2016. And the stat that I really like to highlight when you're talking about this, profitable ATS every single year over the last 8 years. So are you going to go 100%? Of course not. But over time, it's been about 56, 57%. So it's a good play. So it's really moving towards you in this area. And the other thing I think is worth mentioning is kind of flipping it around and kind of saying how dangerous some of these small favorites are. They don't perform well in the first 3 weeks. Only 42% against the spread over the last decade. Under 500 against the spread each of the last 10 seasons, which again shows kind of consistency in that area. So I'm going to go with you, but if you're talking about just Tennessee, God, I need that 4.5. Now down to 3.5. You're talking about really going over a key number there. So a bit of a different spot for me.
Yeah, definitely more hesitant with the 3.5. Before, when this was 4.5, that's when I attacked. That's when I grabbed it. I am very happy that I did before the line moved. And listen, early on, maybe the public's on my side because the early money's coming in is the smart money. At least that's what I'm going to tell myself to sleep easy at night so that I'm not with the public in this one in particular. But let's look at another game, Cincinnati, New England. This is a very interesting one. Chad just talked to Chad and Simon about the Jamar holdout, what that's going to entail. I still think Cincinnati is going to blow the doors off New England because it's Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. If it was Drake May, I would have probably taken New England here. But I just think that this is the opportunity for the Bengals to make a statement. I think they're live for the AFC North. I am a bit worried with Chase and all the holdout that's going on. But again, it's Jacoby Brissett under center. I think I might take the bait. I haven't played this yet. It's my lean. Tell me why I'm either right or wrong with liking Joe Burrow early on.
I mean, the numbers are going to say you're wrong. The numbers are going to say to take the big dog in week 1. The numbers are going to say to take the team who didn't make the playoffs the year before, and all these different types of situations that'll probably back New England, even though I know Cincinnati didn't get into that spot, but they're just rated a much better team. But if you look just at the numbers, Joe Burrow, 62% against the spread in his career, 36-22, great against the number. But where he does struggle, he is 2-6 ATS in his first 2 games. And 34-16 game 3 on. So it does seem, without any preseason work, it takes a little while for him to get into the groove. That 68% number in game 3 on is actually just kind of insane. So he does find his way. And it is worth noting when talking about that Pittsburgh-Atlanta game from earlier, Burrow's 2-6 ATS mark is tied with Kirk Cousins for the worst mark of 59 QB since Burrow was drafted in that early season. So big number on Cincinnati. I can kind of just see it. It's, 14, it's 15, it's maybe even 16-point lead, fourth quarter, and Brissett maybe a backdoor. So I do think the number is just about right for me.
Yeah, maybe I can get an 8.5, tease it down to 2.5, and just pair that one and ship it that way. Because I just can't see the Bengals losing in this week 1 to Jacoby Brissett and the New England Patriots. But there's one more for you on this list that I have. Sunday Night Football. We got Rams against Lions again. We got Goff against Stafford. I lean toward the Rams in this one again. I took them in the wild card game with the points, and they covered. Obviously didn't win. I think they should have won that game. But the same story's happening here again. We get them in week 1. I understand it's Jared Goff and the Lions and Dan Campbell, but this is a healthy Matt Stafford, a healthy Cooper Kupp. Am I a little bit worried about the defense? Sure, but I am buying in on this offense. We finally have Kyron and Blake Corum, who I think you can't sleep on, by the way. Altogether, this culminating in, I think 3.5 is way too many points, and I'm going to probably take the underdog here. Am I crazy for this, or do the numbers say do it?
Well, the entire market's agreeing with you, and they really, I think, like the hook, right? Mm-hmm. As you see a lot of these games kind of sitting on 3, and actually a few of them moving up to 3.5. Well, the Rams have already been there, and the markets agree with you. Both the tickets and the money kind of leaning towards the Rams right now, which is interesting considering Campbell and Goff's success, just covering blanketly overall kind of as a duo. But the trend that everyone will talk about, Goff, 7-0 against the spread in openers, best of any quarterback over the last 20 years. Covers with the Rams, covers with the Lions, kind of all work for him early in the year. And really the thing everyone has talked about throughout the offseason is not only the Lions' nice schedule having to play indoors versus outdoors, Dome first 4 weeks, Dome 7 of first 8 weeks, week 9 in Lambeau, only outdoor game till week 16. So very favorable there. And just to throw a few numbers in terms of indoor and outdoor in Goff, indoor, 35-17 ATS, 25-9 last 3 seasons. Outdoor, 500 career ATS. So basically an even quarterback. And to me, the one number that goes a little bit of another level, 68% completion percentage indoors, 62% outdoors. That 6% delta is pretty dramatic when you think about it. So kind of just a different quarterback. And it's interesting to see, everyone going Rams, but I see where you're coming from.
Maybe I just go Joe Public and I take the over on a Sunday Night Football, and I just enjoy the fact that we got Goff in the Dome. We got a great offense from the LA Rams. Maybe
highest total of the week, though. Highest total of the week.
Yes.
So buyer beware, you could be in for a scare.
Listen, I'm a sucker for over sometimes, so we'll see what I end up doing on this one. But Evan Abrams, thank you so much for coming to me with the trends, and we'll hear from you very soon.
Yeah, see you all season.
BJ, what do we got for a best bet Tuesday?
Well, I like our Boston Red Sox taking on the Mets over 8 runs at -110. Cutter Crawford has completely fallen off. The second half of the season, xFIP over 5. Last 6 starts, xFIP has been over 5.5 individually in every single start. The problem is home runs. Over a 3 home run per 9 rate in the second half of the season. So I don't think it's a great matchup here for Crawford. The flip side of it is, though, David Peterson is a massive negative regression candidate. Currently 2.83 ERA, 5.15 xFIP. The Red Sox, overall for the season, they've been good against left-handed pitching. They've kind of started to fall off a little bit here. But really what it comes down to is the bullpens. The Red Sox bullpen has obviously been terrible over the second half of the season. Last 30 days, we got an ERA of 6. That's not good. So I think 8 is short here for these two starting pitchers who, Peterson, somebody who has an over a 5 expected ERA, Crawford, who has over a 5 xFIP in the second half of the season against 2 good offenses and 2 bullpens that are really regressing here. So projected 8.6 runs. So I like over 8 at -110.
5 days of college football is over, but that doesn't mean you can't stop finding edges. I'm here to give you the Action Pro top prop for this baseball slate on this Tuesday. And if you look deep, you can find that Minnesota Twins starting pitcher David Festa under 6.5 strikeouts at -160 over at DraftKings is a near 20% edge based on the market at hand. Our projections have this closer to 4.6 strikeouts, and it's kind of easy to see why. I understand. It's ugly. The Tampa Bay Rays strike out at a high rate. They haven't been good at the plate offensively against righties of late, but our projections say to fade Festa. He's been over this number in just 1 of 4 road starts. He's been under 6.5 strikeouts in 6 of 9 since coming up to the big, so a 20% edge. Our pro projections, just a reminder, you can also get $20 off our pro projections by using code GDD20 at checkout. That will give you access to all of our picks, big money model edges, and expert advice as well. That's code GDD20 for Action Pro Top Prop. And just a reminder that any picks that we give out here on the show, you can easily reference by going over to the Action app and that handle at green.daily in the Action app. We keep track so you don't have to. And that's going to do it for this season debut, number 3 of Green Dot Daily. Not too bad, right? Aside from that Festa top prop, we gave out Panthers to win the division, Kyler Murray 55-1 to win MVP, Cooper Kupp to lead the league in receiving yards. We've got that much and more tomorrow with college football, baseball, all on the diamond for you. So we'll see you again 3 Eastern on the Action app and YouTube channel. Y'all have a great rest of your Tuesday.